climbing it all the time.
This guy was here all the time.
All right, we ready?
Yep.
So we'll call the meeting to order. Danielle, you ready? 6:20. What is that? 6:40. 6:40. All right. Pledge of Allegiance. Joe, you want to lead us?
Sure.
Please.
Beyond. Set?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Joe. Citizens' comments, anyone? We're all in the gym.
It'll be over when they're done.
We'll be ready for the rush.
Yeah.
Okay, educational update. I wasn't here, obviously, last one. Thank you, Kathleen, for taking over last week. Where are we right now?
So we were still stuck
Yep.
on the transportation slide, and one of the things, everyone loved the work that Kathleen did on the staff shift slide and then also the transportation slide, but one of the things that we were still struggling with was the fact that we wanted to put a clear message on there so that when someone, and this was Sean's idea, and I agree, and I think everybody does, that when they pick up this PowerPoint code, that it reflects the actual meaning of the explanation we can give live to the public, but that the BOE budget now is assuming the cost of the buses. And so I made an attempt, and please poke holes in it if you need to. I made an attempt to put that comment there. I put the BOE budget includes the cost of bus replacements. Therefore, these funds are removed from the town of Thompson budget. I don't know how else to make that clearer, and probably need your guidance on that.
What page is that?
12.
Well,
Oh, I think, I know it was way.
Shall?
from, you might want to just word the town of Thompson budget to the town side of the budget, of the annual budget.
Side of the annual budget.
Just to make it clear.
Can you say that?
Did anybody else have any ideas? Think about this?
Yeah, so
Go.
what I had come up with, the reason, my concern with that quote is still it says the cost of bus replacements, and they're not the public is not understanding that we are not buying buses. That's the common question. One of the things that I thought was, could we put just, two notes? One, beginning in fiscal 18-19, the Board of Ed budget reflects costs previously encumbered by the municipal budget, something to that effect. We're not going to be able to explain it.
I know, you don't want to get too wordy, because
We don't want to get too wordy. We're not going to be able to explain it, but we want it to at least prompt a question, so then we can explain it.
I don't have any
But
problem with
Every
that.
time we talk about that this includes bus replacement, that specific, everybody's like, what do you mean, we're buying buses? No,
That's a good point.
that's all.
So
And-
the comment that you need to have made in the meeting is something to the effect of, in order for us to move forward, we determined that 3 buses per year would be necessary, therefore that cost is in this analysis.
Well, sure, if somebody dug that far, I don't know if we have to give them, what it is, again, in a conversation this is easy. It's easy to explain this transfer, but it's hard on a slide.
You just want that conversation.
And so,
somewhere.
to say, starting in 18-19, the Board of Ed budget reflects costs previously encumbered in the municipal budget. And somebody will say, well, what do you mean? We'll say, well, the town side used to buy the buses. Now we're private, that's here. The town side used to this, the town, and then my other thought was putting a second note. The first note was that previously encumbered. The second note is something to the effect that the town is receiving revenue. Somehow that, because that's the two big parts of our cost analysis.
You know what also isn't in here that I forgot is funny when you bring up revenue is the personal property tax.
Yeah.
The 8,800.
Right. So, the two big talking points for any of us in talking with the public is this cost analysis included purchase of buses and revenue, neither of which are reflected in, the the school's budget per se. So those are the two notes that I'd like to see is, you know, also beginning in fiscal
Alright, so instead
18,
of saying-
19.
I like that.
You wanna say, or next budget, or you wanna
Well,
actually say?
I don't know. I don't care. That's
No, I'm just trying to scribble something down.
Can fit-
you could. I mean, since we're talking about this budget, you could say, you know, this budget reflects this. You know, this fiscal year's Board of Ed budget reflects costs previously encumbered by municipal side.
Costs previously
I'll make a note.
encumbered.
What, Jody?
I'm not sure everybody's gonna know
On
what that
municipal
means.
side,
Encumbered and,
Yeah.
Okay, pick a different word besides encumbered.
Alright.
yeah,
Simplify it.
and-
Okay.
And,
I like the thing.
alright, so the BOE budget reflects costs previously encumbered on municipal,
included?
in municipal.
Previously
budget.
included. Yeah, included.
Thank you.
Included.
That's costs previously included in the municipal budget, is that
In,
what you
in,
want to say?
I think so.
municipal budget. What do you wanna say, but does not include the revenue to the
Well,
town?
or do we do a second?
No,
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 one,
no.
no, two.
But if you're gonna open up a question, why not open up,
Well, I agree,
Another one.
but can it be note one, boom, note two?
well, one
I don't
little,
know.
one little whole blurb here.
Okay.
Bullet point one, bullet point two,
Right.
doesn't, and I'm just thinking
Mhm.
out loud.
Yep.
Does not, this budget does not include revenue to the town?
Is it wrong to say that the town will receive revenue that is a pass through the school budget? You know what I mean? Because
No, I wouldn't say that.
okay, because it is, but
Well,
it is. I mean, let's face it. We're paying a bill that includes $2,000 rent and $8,800 in taxes
no,
and
the taxes weren't included in there, in the proposal.
okay, so
That's
the,
all
so
above
the,
and
but
beyond.
okay, the
Just like
24,000
the
is
rental of the bay would have been above and beyond. After 5 years, they would have found
Right.
a way to get it in there.
sure.
But the first 5 years, that wasn't in
The
there.
24,000 that they're going to pay rent, we know is already in the bill. You know what I'm saying? So,
Oh, yeah, so the 8,800
but yeah, somehow I'd like to see.
Why wouldn't it?
Oh, well, no, it wasn't in part of the.
Oh, it's not into, if we had stayed self, it would not be included, but we
No,
should
I'm ju-
include it as revenue. It's actually 8,370.
Right, but that's not pass-through revenue because that was not included in the original.
But now it was included in the cost analysis.
This is the personal property
No,
tax.
I know, so that wasn't.
Yeah,
Sean's
additional
saying it's
revenue.
a pass-through.
No, it's not a pass.
No.
It will be eventually,
Yeah.
once they catch up with it, but it's not.
Right, no, so we don't wanna say pass through.
No, I don't wanna say pass-through, but, what?
Oh.
Go.
The impact on the taxpayers, wouldn't you put something underneath that? Cause that does impact the taxpayers, it's giving money back to there, so is that line item would be down there. I know we're looking at the bottom line as, you know, right there, but if you put down the the rental of the bay, and then also the tax money
That
coming
we're
back.
not renting the bay.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Parking,
to say that, but
parking.
the parking, sorry. But then, you know, the taxes part of it, what's the income on that? No, I don't even know if it comes to word.
We'd be down to 190, say, so the difference between the 1508 and the 1190 would be the impact. On
Right,
that would be a cost reduction, not of savings, but a cost
right.
cost
the
deduction, which is probably about 0.45 of a mil.
Bill, how about if we just somehow, instead of putting a sentence or a blurb about the revenue, just
Well,
boldly
you could just
mark
put
that
savings.
what up there is revenue? Because I don't know if people, I know this sounds, I think, somewhat sad to say, but would people look at that and realize that's revenue?
You were just
That-
asking
I
that.
was
The
just
only
asking.
reason I'm even doing this, cause you suggested that couple of blurbs.
The blurb about the
And-
transfer 100%, but now I'm wondering about the revenue part. Would we be better served just putting the word revenue next to the things that are revenue?
The last thing I wanna do is confuse
Right.
anything, or make it look as though we're not being transparent.
Right.
So, how do we do this
Yep.
in a couple of sentences?
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea, it reflects costs previously included
Yeah,
in the municipal budget. And that should be that should be a pass-through for the average taxpayer, it's just from one side to the other.
I think people can understand that. It's simple. It's
But I think we should say something to the effect that it does not include, and I don't know how to say this, and maybe we shouldn't. It does not include revenue,
Property tax revenue.
which will go back to the town in rental and taxes. I don't know how to say that, maybe we shouldn't. But you know what I'm getting at?
yeah, this analysis does include,
the analysis does, but
yeah, because the impact on the taxpayer is what we're trying to get to,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Which we have to now, I've forgotten the property, personal property tax, which is good, so that's $8,400.
8370, you said.
Yeah, 8370, but if you wanna round it, it's 8400.
Okay.
Yeah, and that'll take us down to the if we put like a savings, 318,000. You know, there, so that, they don't have to do the math,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Also, I think what we're trying to say is this analysis includes revenue previously not available to the town.
yeah.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
Revenue, and we can give the number, 2464 plus 84.
So add a line after the sales of buses as property tax revenue. or
Correct.
income. Maybe as income.
Where are we seeing that? Where do you want that?
After sale of buses?
That's true too.
Yeah, and that would be in brackets, that makes the 3388.
It's down to 1.189 or something like that.
Somewhere under sale of buses, another 8,400.
Okay, we got that.
So that the subtotal town is now,
Tax revenue.
is what, 3,464, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, wait a minute, let's hold this up as we.
Well, and to that end, we're estimating the taxes.
Yeah.
The other ones are hard numbers.
346
She said
for.
8,400 to go by.
I just did that in my head.
Huh?
You're an accountant, I did that in my head.
So do we
But-
I don't do
Did you work
things
in
in my head.
manufacturing?
rental of
Bill,
lot, shouldn't it be
to
rental
be
revenue?
fair, if
Right,
we're
why
gonna
don't we
put the
just keep,
taxes
yeah, why don't
in,
we add the word revenue?
if we're gonna put the
Like
taxes in,
rental
we
of
should
lot revenue.
note that it's an estimate. I mean,
Okay.
you know,
Sale of buses, if you want that to say revenue?
the rest,
Anticipated revenue.
right, the
Yeah.
rest are hard
I
numbers,
mean,
we
we could
know.
do, you could almost say that for this entire thing, this is approximate rounded numbers.
You could do that, that's fine, if you wanna do that. I didn't think it was, for the most part.
I can't believe they're all exact, 250,000, 24,000, 64,000.
Yeah, I think it's kind of self.
Well, yeah, we're
But
rounding.
but in the, you know, in the spirit of being clear.
Yep.
You want the 8,370 there? Under the
Yeah.
8,400?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
So now
So what are you gonna
so
label it?
this 338 now becomes 346
Yeah.
something.
Property tax income?
Yeah.
Income or revenue?
Revenue,
Mm.
What do people understand?
it's not income, it's revenue.
Revenue.
I think the people that care and are gonna read it understand revenue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So rental of lot revenue, sale of buses, anticipated revenue, or revenue?
This,
Well, yeah, so I guess we're saying it's all estimates, so say revenue.
Yeah, okay.
and that's subject to change, but it's close enough, we don't know what it is.
So
Yeah.
they're taking the two bands and we
Right.
don't know what the value of those are. David Ryan.
So you can say anticipated revenue to the town and just list them.
Okay.
Right.
So we should have.
Just like page 2,400, 6,400, I mean, 1,000. That's it. You just say like anticipated revenue to the town and then just boom, 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 bullets.
You mean like right above, like where that space is,
Well,
after school in town? In between school and
you
town?
can't say that because the purchase of the 3 buses is not revenue.
Gotcha.
We're just not buying it.
Alright.
Right, correct.
We're not buying them, but
Cost
they're.
avoidance.
Cost
right?
that's a cost avoidance. The others are actual revenues. So, but by doing this, the town is picking up an additional, to the taxpayer, the
Right.
impact would be $346,000 savings, which is close to $500,000.
Yeah.
Which is almost what we're over.
Right.
And I think that's what hits home.
And
Right, that's the part that's gonna be made clear.
right, the discussion will center around, well, show me, and I'll give, is it Ted, right? I can never think of his name. Joe, who's always at the meetings, Szynski. You know, he made the point, because you will get people that will say, okay, well, show me in last year's municipal budget where this is. Well, hang on a second. We're not saying that it's coming out and going in. What we're saying is $250,000 is what everybody said they would do and buy the buses. You know, that's going to be, I can still see that being a...
Which is the whole reason we're here.
Exactly.
Because that was never there.
That was never there, right. But, absolutely, to the municipal side, it's a
And I think
0.5
we should
mil.
be aggressive. If we're gonna be aggressive at any point, that's when we have to be aggressive on and say, look, that ship sailed. We've already done the analysis, we've been working on it for 2 years.
Yeah.
This is done, here's where we're going.
Agreed, Joe, good point.
So, are there gonna be 2 bullets underneath there? Would you put this bullet about previously included, and then is there a second bullet?
No, I don't know that we need to do the second bullet.
Okay.
But that's what we were talking about, the revenue to the town. But we don't need to put that in. But, BOE budget, includes the cost of.
That can't be there, includes the cost of bus
No, I thought you just changed that.
We did, we got budget
No. I thought she just changed it
Yeah,
up
the
there.
cost previously.
included.
Okay, she's doing it there, on the slide right now. I thought she already did, I'm sorry.
What's happening? What's tomorrow night? What? All I know is I asked Tom if he was coming, and his response was, "To what? Our meeting's tomorrow night."
Such
say-
a bonehead. And he's gonna say yes at the auditorium. And
See you then.
We do have something tomorrow night, though.
No.
Isn't tomorrow night? When are we talking about the ballots?
Thursday.
Thursday?
No.
Wednesday, it's the
The
walk through the
walkthrough.
school.
Okay, Wednesday.
Thursday's the presentation to
Danielle, when's the talk about the ballards? It's in.
Wednesday at 5:30.
That's also Wednesday. Okay, thank you. I knew. Yeah, you don't read your emails either.
We
Oh,
talk
there's a
about the
parent
balance.
He's not-
athletic
it
thing.
was-
Yeah, it's in Melinda's office.
Yeah, it's,
We got an email.
Yeah, but we
but
didn't.
it's Val,
Some
you,
of us-
and I.
Yeah, some of us didn't
Oh,
get
it's just
that.
us?
Yes.
What is it?
How'd I
And
get
the
roped into that then?
principals,
And they're not ballards,
PTO.
they're bollards.
Whatever.
Oh.
What the campus walkthrough is.
All right,
Like
so I don't have
Bollywood.
anything tomorrow night. What does Tommy thinks tomorrow night?
I think we talked about doing it Tuesday, and
I
then
don't
we
know.
changed our mind, I
I don't know. Am I supposed to be somewhere tomorrow?
It's an athletic
That's
thing
Suzanne.
tomorrow, that's what he's thinking, because I know
He needs to be there
goes
tomorrow.
those.
Oh, he's got
There's an
sports thing?
parent athletic thing tomorrow night. 'cause
Well, I just snapped a picture of us all and said, well, then what the hell are we doing here?
Parent athlete, that was the middle school, the high school parent athlete, that's why he has it on his calendar.
Okay,
So he
It's at
doesn't pay
7
attention
o'clock.
to our meetings, he just
Yeah,
goes
goes
to
to the other things.
gotcha.
Is he in the
Yeah.
other
At
room?
least he's close by.
That's middle
in case we
school.
ever need
Oh,
him.
middle school.
Yeah,
That's middle
true.
What is the ballot thing, or the ballot thing?
Bollard, that's
Bollard.
The cement.
the security things that we're gonna be putting in.
Yeah. Why are we having a meeting about that?
Well, there's more than just
That's a
that.
subcommittee that was, so there's 3 things going on
Right.
at
Which
Mary R.
subcommittee?
Fisher.
I don't know. Nobody told me about it.
So it's a,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. So
We
it's
remember,
those-
Val, we got roped
it's
in
the
because we were all
plan
sitting over
first.
No,
there
I
that
know, I
night.
know what they are.
Oh,
I didn't know we were having a
I
meeting
got a
about
little
it.
bit of a
So
problem
we
with that
had a
time.
subcommittee that wanted to
Life
work
part.
on that. Do you remember that
I
meeting
wanted
where
to talk to her,
people
I wanted
had
to talk
Yeah,
to her the
people-
last meeting, but she
people
left.
have some input.
Yeah.
Tell
so we
Val to
kinda
get out of my
put
seat.
together a
Oh,
meeting.
okay.
Because there's 2 other things that are happening too. The PTO at Mary Fisher wants to put some, canvas awnings up to put shade protectors down. But Bill Birch said that might play into the whole, penetration barrier thing. And then, I guess there was some money collected years ago for a memorial that was supposed, a reading memorial area that was supposed to be put out
Oh,
there.
like comedy?
So it all,
Well, we never approved.
Wait a minute.
We never approved that.
Exactly. So there needs to be some sort of a discussion as to what Bill wants to present is, this is what we need to do to protect the building.
Right, right.
And now, how are these other two projects going to even fit into that? And then come before the board and say, okay, we had this meeting, we talked about it, and this is
Okay.
what we
Okay.
think
That's why I
we
think
should
we
do.
need the committee, especially with the, includes security. We gotta, as a board, we can't be in a position if we're doing security items not to be able to answer anybody.
I agree, I agree. So,
But when you said the problem we have in Thompson is when you say Ballards, that's one of the
Yeah.
original families. I tell you, why did we talk about Georgia Ballard? But I remember the conversation about
Anyway, they're
Ballards, yeah.
bollards.
Bollards.
Hey,
B-O-L-L.
concrete posts.
Yeah.
But he was gonna do big,
Not to get
I thought big
confused with
planters or
ballards.
something like that.
It's to be determined.
That's fine,
Might be the
that's
right
cool.
thing to do.
I think that.
To be determined.
I know some people on the board are concerned about the aesthetic look of that, and I don't blame them. So we're
And then-
trying to accomplish something that looks
Right.
appealing, but then this other shade project came in from like left field, and then Bill said that's gonna impact this, and then someone else said, well, there's this memorial thing going on.
thought that was
And
done.
so it's all swirling around together, so I thought I'd put everybody at the table
Yeah.
together, so we
Yeah.
could figure out
And they all
what it
have
is.
security implications.
Mhm.
All right, so let's get back on track with this
Okay.
first. All right,
Thank you.
Sorry.
that's
I
all
think
right.
that's all we need to say.
Yeah, that's simple.
And, yeah, I just kinda like to do the math between the 1.5 and the 1.2, 1.19.
Yeah,
You
If
want
you
the
did the
actual
math,
number?
yeah, and you show that 318,000, give or take a penny or two, you know, winging it here. Accountants need calculators. And then maybe check with, I believe the last time it was 643,000 or 693,000, something like that is a mill. It comes into almost a half a mill, but you could check with Orla.
all right, so
See
if
the
you
actual.
update your numbers and give those to Danielle, she can update the slide.
Mhm.
Because
Okay.
we need the $8,400 in taxes, and then underneath the 1198, if you wanna put the difference, I think that's what you're getting at, the
Yep,
difference of the 300.
that way they don't have to do the math.
Right, they
And
don't have to
then-
do the math, and it shows in big and bold.
Right, and then
Something.
if you do put the mill in, see, people key in on that mill rate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, we can call Ola and get that actual.
Well, yeah, okay, because she's not really friendly with me anymore.
All right, well, we'll be in record.
I'll ask her, she's friendly with me.
Yeah, she talked
So
to me the other
we'll-
day.
we'll give you those numbers in 6 little seconds.
That didn't take long.
It's not me.
All right, so, we're gonna, okay, everybody good? We're gonna update those numbers. That's already been added. Underneath the last line, VADCO, we'll put the savings in big bold,
Yeah.
and we'll try to equate that to whatever part of a mill that is. Is everybody good with that?
Mhm.
Think we're
Mhm.
missing anything? Should anything?
No,
So the
I
most
think
important
we're
thing is you
fine there.
comfortable with it, explaining it.
Yeah, well, Melinda's gonna explain it.
And I'm gonna get help.
And you'll have help. And you'll have help.
Who's presenting the budget?
I think,
Yes, who is
I don't,
presenting?
I don't care.
We hadn't talked about
We
it.
haven't talked about it.
We haven't.
Shoot for it? I don't
Bill.
care, I don't care. You're the new face of the school. I'm
It's
the
up to
old
the board.
face, you know? So, I don't care. I think you would do a wonderful job. I don't have a problem introducing you and then turning it over to you. I don't have a problem doing it myself. I don't.
Could I make a
I don't care.
suggestion?
What?
Split it.
That you go up as a team, you take the lead and and then
I like it.
to further explain, Melinda, do you have anything to add to that?
Because it is the Board of
It's the board, right, I
Education.
was gonna say, that's the thing, we talked about
Yeah.
this last year. It
We
is
would
the
have
Board
it
of
done, okay.
Education's budget.
Right, it is our
And
budget.
so-
Right, but,
I get that.
Yeah, whatever.
you know, it honestly, it doesn't matter.
I know.
So we'll do it together.
I think if you take a lead and bring Melinda in,
Mhm.
maybe, I think that might be the right thing.
You know, the last couple of years went pretty well.
Right.
I think,
Right.
and I'm happy, I'm comfortable, it doesn't matter. But I think they need to hear you, because
Yep.
Right.
you're the leader, you're the one that's driving all the change, and they need to see that you're excited about it, because that's what it's all about. So I will be there. I can do that with you.
Good.
Okay, I'll fix my numbers first thing in the morning, after the fence lady comes in and transfers.
Well, I'll have Danielle try to work on it in the morning. Danielle and I, Danielle, we can do that in the morning. Yeah. And then if we have issues with the sheet, then we'll try to fix it. Other than that,
I still think bullets of cost avoidance and then bullets of revenue are clear to people.
Okay.
Okay.
so how do you want us to, you mean under the buses, cost avoidance?
Yes, I mean, I'm just separating this, but so you have this, the 250 is cost avoidance, and then boom, 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 gives you revenue plus the
I
tax
got what
base.
you're
The,
saying.
the only thing is, Jody, if you call it a cost avoidance, they're gonna say, well, what do you mean? You have it in your we didn't avoid it. I'm playing cynical here.
Yeah, it's true, we're not really avoiding.
Right,
well,
so,
Then why do you have,
Well, I'm comparing it to what it would be if we self-funded this year. If we, see the column in the middle is, if we were to do the buses ourselves this year, it would cost the taxpayer,
town, yes.
the town,
Yep,
1.5 million. But
Right.
because we decided to outsource the buses, it's only costing us 1.2 million.
no, I get that.
Well, I know
But when
you do.
But we
Yes,
didn't
but see,
avoid the
but we're not
250.
avoiding the cost, I agree with Sean, because it's up in the admin costs. They reflects costs previously included in the municipal budget, which
Then
You
you
just
need
pay-
to take that out.
Well, no.
Because that's really, huh?
See, the
you're
thing
a whole
is,
crowd. You couldn't bring them over
we're-
with you?
we're not avoiding it,
It's
Jody, because it's in the contract,
Yeah,
okay?
From the town's perspective, you've still got the 250.
well, okay, transfer of responsibility, I really
Right.
liked that phrase.
Right, I agree.
So, transfer of responsibility, purchase 3
Yeah,
buses.
okay, yeah.
I really liked that phrase that you came up with, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, because the cost is in there, it's just a question of where the responsibility for paying that bill lies.
So that blurb at the bottom, should it say transfer of responsibility down there instead of previously included in this municipal budget?
Well, no, because the revenue is separate, that's new, revenue's new,
Mhm.
just the buses are a transfer of responsibility.
And we're
But
talking
the
about,
bottom is not revenue, the bottom is the costs, the real costs that were in the municipal side. But now, what we've actually done is transfer the
Okay,
responsibility.
the Board of Ed budget reflects transfer of responsibility for cost of,
that's just it, that gets too wordy.
Then it
yeah,
gets too
that
wordy.
gets
All
too
right,
wordy,
all right.
so forget it, just
But-
leave it there.
But, so
Maybe that's something
and I
you talk
understand
about.
what you're
Bill.
saying, I don't know about using cost avoidance.
I don't care if it's transfer or whatever, but if you can put parentheses around that, you need a word.
Why?
They mu-
But
Why?
that, well, yeah, because,
You know what
see,
it is, but other people don't.
well,
Well, not
It's-
purchasing
it's-
3 buses?
it's clear that it's a subtraction, just by simple math.
Right, right.
So it's clear that the
a lot of
parentheses
people
mean
won't
you
understand
subtract
that.
those
A lot of
Alright,
numbers.
people won't
okay, so
understand that.
something needs to be added to the
A
title.
minus sign in front of it,
Well,
I mean,
I don't know, but that's something that the superintendent can explain.
Right.
Do you want something up there that says it, or do you want the superintendent to explain that?
credit, I mean, we all know.
Transfer
yeah.
is
I'd like to
fine.
share the Sean
Yeah.
slide with
Tran-
you.
well,
I'll take this one,
Well,
no.
it's not necessary to buy the 3 buses anymore. Cause it's
Right.
in
It's
our
in the
contract now,
contract.
that they replace buses automatically.
And that to me, looks pretty clear, under self and under DATCO, because we're not buying them now, DATCO. It's still there, the cost is there.
Then why is the 250 in there? Because the cost of the DACO is 1452.
Because it's way up there in the 1452. It's way up there, it's not in the buses, because but it is up there, you see, we're
It's a
1
slippery
point,
slope.
we're 1.2,
Yeah,
and they're 1.4, that's where the purchase of all of the
Because
buses are.
we're showing the
I-
self.
They're not giving us the buses for free. They're not
I
replacing buses
get
for
that,
free. Yeah, I know.
I get that, but we have the 1208
Mm.
self, okay, with the 250 if we were purchasing,
Right.
if the town purchased them.
Which is reflected at the bottom there.
The DACO
Yeah.
contract is 1452,
Right,
right?
Right.
Included is that is
That-
they're buying the buses,
right, and that's up at the top.
right?
And then
So it
that's-
really is, in my mind, transfer, I don't care what you call it, but it's a cost avoidance of that 250 there, cause it's already included in the 1452.
Yeah,
All
how
right,
do you
but-
explain that without muddling?
Yeah, I think
muddling
showing
it
them
up?
side by side shows that is, I don't know, I don't know.
No, I don't disagree. Or, like we learned in algebra, if they cross out, just
It's
take it
not
all
in this
out together.
number.
I mean,
No,
what's,
it's in this one.
Right.
you know what I mean?
Took it out of that
Need to
one.
show that somewhere.
Because if we
I do
self-funded.
too, but,
How do we do that?
but they equal zero,
now,
so
they're
you
going
could just take it out
Doesn't
altogether.
zero.
So we
Huh?
don't have to. So
They
it
do.
saves us
250 plus and 250 minus equals zero.
That's not what I'm
It's in
talking
here.
about. I
No.
know minus and plus.
No.
I know
I
you
know
know,
this
I know
too.
you know, but I'm offering different suggestions.
No, no, she's just saying
It's
cost
all
avoidance,
there
we're not
on
spending
both
this money
sides,
because
it's just
up here.
where the buses are. Our bus is at the 250, their bus is at the 14. So we're
Yeah, the bus
they're
is-
taking it out. I understand what you're saying, but I don't wanna get too wordy. And I'm not hiding
So we're
anything, but
adding it
how are
to
you gonna
this-
explain?
I'm not saying you're hiding it, but I think we have to say why 250 is on one side, and I get it, because we wanna buy the buses if we had them,
Yeah,
if we had the buses,
The
right?
cost of the buses
The
is up
250 is already included in the 1452,
right,
okay?
yeah.
So we need to state that specifically, I think, that the 250, that's why you have this.
Okay.
You don't like cost avoidance, but it's already embedded in the 1452 price.
Yes, I know that. But, so how,
And if you explain it that
I
way.
know, I
But-
know, but, so how do you say that?
Right. It's easy to explain,
It's
it's harder
easy
to
to
show in
explain,
one or two words.
But,
How would you put
I mean, what would you do? Just stick arrow? You know, I don't know. I know what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. I don't know how to do it, so it's clear, succinct, you know, just a blurb up there.
Because this gets back to the cost analysis. This gets back to us trying to remind everybody that we did a cost analysis if we were to keep them in-house. And that cost analysis had to include, on top of the school costs, which are up top, buying buses. And so, if we were to keep them in-house, and I might switch that to in-house, by the way, instead of self.
Okay.
If we were to keep them in-house,
Well, now
the
you-
school would cost $12.58. The town would have to spend $250. If we do it outsource, the school spending, $15.36. And here's the savings, both in purchasing buses and in revenue. And
So I
so,
use the term cost avoidance. The town isn't paying for the 250 because the school's already paying 1452.
Right. Okay,
I
let me
think
about
as
this,
soon
'cause
as
now I'm all confused. Because Linda's saying don't even include the 250 because that's comparing apples to
I
apples.
was saying that's what Jody was saying.
No, Jody's saying, well, she's convincing
Alright, so you don't
me.
agree with me, but that's okay,
Yeah.
that's
Don't even
That-
include that 250. Let me go.
250's in the, yeah.
Is
But-
in the
No,
upper
you know what I'm
number. So
talking
what
about.
we're really comparing
Must be the
is the
Mars
1508. Don't subtract the 250.
You know what I'm talking about.
That's it.
Because it's up in the 40.
You
Yeah.
could call it out, but I think it has to be part of that 1452 somehow, call it out.
Right, right. Okay, let me think about this. I'll get
No,
back to you
I-
first thing in the morning with all the math.
Alright, Sean has something.
no,
Yes.
it's just I play cynical, and I'm sure we're gonna see if somebody reads cost avoidance, their first question is gonna be, how did you avoid that? The buses are being replaced.
You avoided it by adding more buses than we
You
wanted
avoided
to
it on the
add.
town side.
Mm-hmm. But
That's the thing.
That's okay, I don't care how we word it, I just think to add 250 on this side and take 250 out on this side, it's gonna cause more questions.
Well,
Because the
but-
250 is
but-
part of the
But
1452.
you said to label it, but it is labeled, but purchase of 3 buses.
Purchase of the buses.
Under self, it's 250, under DATCO,
It's
it
zero.
is a credit of 250. So, any way you look at, any way you spin it,
It's not a wash, because the 250 is in that 1252.
What if you put it italicized and put a note, did they have notes about that?
No, I don't think so, Jody. The relative cost for all the administration and all that are listed, embedded in that 1452 is the 250, so you gotta bring that out to show it, because if we kept the buses ourselves, we have to spend that money. So the rules of debit and credits, which
Right.
say that if you put it in and need to take it out, you gotta show it as a negative number.
Yeah, but shouldn't we just show it as 0 because we're not buying the buses?
Yeah, because we did that with the cameras.
Well, would you
right?
show
We
it
did
as-
that with the other
Yeah, I think we
Well-
should just show
Would you
it
sh-
as 0.
would you
'cause
show
we're
it
not
as
buying the
0?
buses.
I like that idea better.
Yep,
Leave it as zeros.
this
Um,
one.
Yeah.
All right, so that actually brings it back to 1540, so it's really, it's costing us $24,000 more to outsource.
But we still haven't put
But
in
it's
the
not.
8370, so let's not
Would
forget that.
Would that-
Yeah, okay, so, but
Yeah,
I'm doing it from the
because it's-
190.
Those
Right.
buses are being
Yeah,
purchased.
so
via
it's-
the
it's
14,
costing us-
52.
So, yeah,
A little bit more to outsource, but not a lot.
exactly.
Yeah, okay, put 0 for the buses.
And then you have to put in, a property tax revenue
Right.
of 8370.
So how did we stay at 1198?
We didn't, we
Why
haven't,
not?
we haven't
We did.
fixed the.
Relax.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Relax,
relax back
buddy.
there.
But-
You gotta add 250 back to the 1190.
Right.
And then minus 8370.
Yeah, no, I already did that with the 1190. Yeah,
You didn't do it up there.
right. So we're not saving anything, it's gonna cost us a little, don't do the math now, it's gonna cost us a little bit more to outsource, but the headache of all the, now we can talk to the safety issues and everything else.
The benefits.
Property tax revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the bus driver severance is only
It's a
one
one-time.
time
Yeah, 1
payment,
year, so next
that's-
year we will save money.
8370.
Yeah.
So that's something we can, bring up.
1189,880.
So, the
Can I-
purchase of the 3 buses, and then you can put another subtitle, additional revenue to town.
Can I ask, why is the severance there then?
Because
It's not a fair indicative of the transportation cost.
It is in year 1, and that, we're talking about this year's budget.
And we gotta make that abundantly clear. Bold, purple letters.
Well, didn't say down the bottom, one-time payment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, but I mean, like, capital letters in purple and pink maybe.
Because it's an actual cost of us this year of.
It is, but it's very important that it's a one-time cost.
Right, now, can you make that font at the bottom bigger?
Kathy,
That's bold.
Kathleen, can I ask a question? The last meeting you mentioned something about the Board of Selectmen wanting to keep 3 of the smaller buses. Does
think
that
it's 2.
number is it already adjusted for that?
No, it isn't, because we don't know what the impact of that is. They're keeping two
Two of
van-
them now? 2
yeah,
vans?
2
8
passenger vans.
which is why the numbers are estimates, and didn't
Yeah.
somebody say they might be like $6,000 a piece or something?
They're not
They're not
much.
much at all.
Unless you wanna take the 84 and just footnote that in one-time payment.
I mean, I just wanna be abundantly clear that it's a one-time payment. It's not indicative of the true, quote, transportation cost.
We
Is
have
it
a
one-time
one-time
payment
payment.
only for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but if we took it out up there and put it down at the bottom,
Right.
to
it would-
show that it's a
Yeah.
one-time payment,
Yeah.
maybe that would make it.
well, it changes the number to the true cost of transportation.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, severance
Alright, so we
isn't
put it in
part
the
of
footnote
transportation.
only, the 84,000 and footnote only.
So you can take 84 out?
I mean, it's
Yeah,
still on the
footnote
page,
it
and it's a
is.
cost we have to incur. It's just, I don't
Yeah,
see
it's
it
not
as
a-
transportation
It's not
cost.
an operating cost.
Right, right.
Yeah, okay. So we're actually taking the 1452 minus 24, 64. 64 is liable to change, but we won't get into that. Probably closer to 62 or something now, and the 837. Okay.
So we have to add that up again, because the 338 is not
I
right.
lost my calculator. Where'd it go?
Heather could probably help you.
I got 1355630. Threw out too many numbers.
What, that's 88,
Just let,
90,
maybe let,
96, 370.
let Danielle get
Well,
the
Danielle,
columns
where
right,
it
we can
says
do the
33A.
additions later.
It's 96,000.
Well, why don't you just use 8,400, keep it at round numbers.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
All
right.
right, Danielle, can you change 8370 to 8,400?
400,
And
okay,
then this is
and
gonna
that will be
go-
96,400 right there.
You
Yeah.
gotta take, you gotta take
Just
out a
gotta
zero
take
there.
one
So
zero.
many zeros on the 84.
Don't push her, she needs sleep.
Okay, 96
She's not fully awake yet.
She's gonna snap. So the severance of the bus driver, you want her to move that down?
That down to the footnote, that's a zero up on top and it's down to the
Well, let's
footnote.
take the whole line
Take the
right
line
and
out,
put
yeah.
it down,
Yeah,
because that is one time and that's not.
Am I deleting it completely or is it going somewhere else?
Going down.
it's
Down
gonna go
below.
down into the
You're
footnote.
you're taking it completely out of there,
Mhm.
but we're gonna put it down at the bottom in the footnote.
You wanna put it in a row under taxpayers, where it says taxpayers, impact on taxpayers?
That's what originally I thought we should do, but I don't know.
What's that?
Nah, let's just leave it as a
Just leave it
footnote.
as a footnote.
Bill, for actual budget purposes, wouldn't something like that go into salaries anyway? I mean, I'm saying leave it on this page because it's part of this discussion, but in our actual budget, I mean, if we have a retirement from a teacher, you know,
It's in the budget.
all of their. I'm just curious from an accounting standpoint, should it be in salaries or something?
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
like
yeah,
retirement
it would be.
payment, sick days and stuff like that when you retire.
So it's,
You got a new total, Kathy? Are you working on that, Kathleen?
yeah. So we're back to 1452 minus the 96.4.
Oh, that's
And
right.
Danielle,
So
that
it's
subtotal
now
under
becomes
school, third column over under
135.6.
DACO, you're just gonna bring down that same amount. 1452.
Perfect. And then down at the bottom line, it's still a savings, right?
Yeah, it's 1355.6.
Right where your cursor is,
Yeah.
impact on taxpayers, that number is 1,355,600.
$1,355,600, and the savings then is
There you go.
$152,400.
So in the bold, big above that.
So it's about a quarter of a mil.
What was that number again?
Yeah,
Savings,
about a quarter
though.
of a mil, 0.25 mil.
Kathleen, what was that number again?
152.4, or 152,400.
So somewhere down there in big bold, we can put that savings,
Mm.
and that's what we need to, 400.
400.
400.
Mhm.
There we go.
152,400.
Oh,
Oh.
conceptualize. Thank you very much, Jody, for bringing that. Makes more sense now.
Well,
You
if
go
we're
with
not
that?
gonna
It doesn't
put
read
the
confusing either.
No.
severance in, we gotta get rid of that
Every
one.
good
No,
thing
we're gonna
process
put the
needs to be
one-time
Oh, we're
payment.
gonna
We have
put it
to,
there.
we have to be transparent. There is a
Every good
one-time
work
payment of
Yep.
84,000.
Yep.
Well, no, you've already got a footnote for it.
She's still not working. Yeah, but we've got
Oh.
an asterisk there and we've got
No asterisk.
no going anywhere.
Okay, well,
Where's it
we'll
going?
figure, well,
I'll
You know what?
fix it. She'll fix
You-
it. She knows what.
Danielle,
Yeah.
where you already have one-time payment only for you can just
Put
continue that line and
savings.
say, $84,000.
yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
why that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You already have it there, so,
Yeah.
and you could say one-time severance payment.
Yeah.
You know,
Right, but we need to get rid of that asterisk or put it somewhere.
Mhm.
Like Linda said, it doesn't make sense cause there is no
Nothing
asterisk
Okay.
above.
Okay.
But we can figure out, she can
Yeah,
play with
Okay,
that.
so-
Take a
Play
look
with
at
that, I mean, we don't need to do it, we've got the numbers now and.
Right.
Yep.
All right, is everybody somewhat comfortable with that? It looks clear, kind of self-explanatory.
The word up top, FY 219 South needs to be
Oh,
changed to in-house.
in-house, yeah.
Thank you, Debbie.
Makes it smaller.
And then
Is it down? Is it that way?
I think
Yeah.
it's hyphenated.
There you go.
Because that's what everybody's been calling it.
That's
all.
It's not easy to play with, I know you're doing very well, I can't stand PowerPoint.
She's very good at it.
Yeah, I guess you are. Next time I have a presentation, I'm calling you.
Yeah, it's hyphenated.
What do you charge, how much per hour? Oh, I fight with these things all the time. This is not my favorite.
All right, do we have to do we have to do anything else with anything else in the presentation? People want to change, questions?
So as far as the staffing, it's pretty straightforward. You know, the staffing changes we're making, the deductions, the eliminations, and the additions. And we use standard, staff. And so those are, you know, in some cases, there's a negative, a savings. And then in others, like the middle school, there's an addition, obviously. At the high school, there's just eliminations. And then I know you told me to make sure that, although we're not putting dollars next to the highlights, that in case someone asks, that I have those numbers on a card, in case someone said, what's the after-school boat building continuation going to cost us? I know what that number is.
Okay.
We're just working on that, like how much is the ukuleles, that kind of stuff.
On the ukuleles, because I know that, Mike, can we just use it as musical instruments?
I was gonna say, can we do supplies, because
Musical supplies
they,
or something along those
because
lines?
they're gonna rip that apart saying,
Ukuleles.
ukuleles, why the hell do we need ukuleles? If you put music supplies or music instruments, there, you know, people.
I'll just put instruments, how's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's perfect.
purchasing
I was
musical.
thinking the same
Well,
thing.
I mean, it is elementary school. Do we want the kids to be learning Mozart on a piano? I mean,
Yes.
If they could.
well, you think we're gonna buy?
Violins.
Can
The
we afford
Montessori school
pianos?
starts them with
We're gonna
violins
struggle to
at
get
3 years old.
ukuleles.
Right.
Okay.
We can do Chromebooks, we can do pianos. for the
Okay.
kids.
I picture several guys just bringing up ukuleles.
I know,
Yeah.
I know, it's already been brought up to me, that's why I wanted it changed, it's
Okay.
been brought up.
Do you want me to just put reading
No,
supplies?
no, that's okay.
That's okay?
That's all
Everything
right.
else I think is fine.
Yeah.
If, the only suggestion I had on screen 10 was to bullet those grants.
And we needed to add the alliance, do we add that alliance in, yeah? Alliance needed to be added in.
Bullet them or number them or something along those lines, just so they.
I think we had it like that originally, didn't we?
Just it kind of runs together.
Yeah.
Looks better.
I mean, if we want to expand that, we can list the title grants separately too.
Yeah, like it-
Title II, Title III, Title IV.
you've got them. They're there, the IDEA is there, they're all there.
No, I'm saying if we want to show all the grants we have separately so that you get an idea of the of the number we have, we can list Title I
Oh, I see
separate
what
from
you're
Title II, from
Yeah.
Title III, from
Oh,
Title
okay.
IV. So instead of it showing we got 12 grants, we actually got 16. Are they all, they're not all one grant, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, that's not all one grant.
No, but they're all in one entitlement grant.
Yeah, let's leave it, because we're running out of room here.
She's a cleaner herself, no, she'll fix it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, don't leave bullets up there, please.
It's all correct.
We're here at Thompson Public Schools this evening.
All right. Anything else?
I don't have anything.
If you can, just number page 13, 14, 15.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's just if someone's gonna pinpoint what page are we on, you don't know.
Question.
When we print them for the public, is it okay to put two slides on one page?
Yeah,
Like this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's much bigger up there.
How do we handle the Board of Finance usually comes in with a preconceived number. You know, how do we handle that argument? I mean, every year we go in and we work our ass off on a budget, and they've already got 1 mil total, that's it. You know, last year they kind of relented a little bit, and
They haven't said it out loud this year, since Ray is not on the board anymore. But they haven't, I'm sure a couple of them have it in their head.
I'm sure.
But they didn't say it out loud.
I think that's what the sales pitch is Thursday night, though. We're selling what we need,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're selling what we need.
Take that right out.
You know, if
Yeah.
we sell it,
Bring that to their attention,
I don't know.
safety and
There's a
security.
historical message that might help us,
Actually,
and that
is
is,
that on that slide, that main slide, Danielle, safety and security?
Which?
It's
It's on
on
the grant side, but
that on
probably
there?
to eliminate
Yeah.
from.
Yes, it is. Why? You wanna take it out?
No, we wanted to leave it in, but that CB on, building budget highlights, we can take that whole thing out, because we're not putting that into our budget.
there's a historical argument that we could make, and that is, when the economy was bad for those many years, our average increase, you know, some years we took 0. You know, and we always said that you can't keep adding to the budget while the economy's bad, but now the economy's turned around. That argument can't, you know, we can't use that argument on both sides of the fence.
right?
So I don't know how we can get that message out, that, look, folks, we talked about this for years, that, and we pared down our budget to 1 year we did 0%, and 3 years we did 1%, and
Last
now-
year.
Last year we were 0.4, right?
We're
yeah,
0.4.
now we need the resources.
We did 3 years in a row at 0, right?
I
It
don't
was at
remember.
0.6.
We'd have to go back.
That
and
would've
It was
been
two-
before me,
It was
but-
2 years at 0, 1 at 0.6
Right.
in a row.
And the argument about the kids are going down, no, that's not a good argument anymore, that's stabilized.
Right, that has stabilized.
And, you know, all the indications, the studies that we've done show at some point it's gonna creep back up a little bit.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a way we can make that, get ready for that argument, because we need to be able to attack that and shut that down immediately.
Right. We, at the budget presentation, we're not going to need to do that, because it's not gonna be a question answer thing. But we need to be ready with those kind of talking points for the budget workshops afterwards.
I can't remember if we have ever, the last couple of years that I was on or prior, given one slide that shows you know, give the last 8 years.
We have, we've done that in the past, and maybe we can find it again.
We can find
But
it.
Mike's
Our
presentation.
increases.
0.04,
over the
0.6,
last
you know, you're
Over
asking,
10 years, because
10
that's
years,
how
well, that's
we
when it
track.
started.
right, you know, you're asking a business to run on less than 1%, and still saying you're not being fiscally responsible. You gotta, I mean, there's gotta be some give and take here.
Right.
With no short-term or long-term debt and no investment.
Right,
Or the ability to borrow money.
right.
But what you did do, right, is that you cut positions to
Yeah.
the point of, you know, now we have to restore them just to
Right.
be able to meet the needs of the kids.
Right. We were fiscally responsible, we did that,
That's what, you know.
but now it's time to go back the other way. That would be a good slide, if we get the last 10 years of what our increases were. I think people would be very surprised, because in all that time, the electricity's going up, oil's going up, salaries have gone up.
And let's not forget, Joe did this a couple years ago. play the game where look at the special ed. I think when you did it a couple years ago, special ed had gone up 700%, and everything else had gone up like 0.1. I mean, so that's a key factor in even a 0.4 increase really isn't 0.4 to the general population of the school because of the special ed increases over the years.
Right.
You know, there were many years where special ed ate up far more than the increase. So technically you were looking at a decrease to the rest of the school over the last 8 years.
I want to hear that.
But
Well, and it's a fact of
it's a
life.
fact.
It's a fact, but
If they're the ones voting, that
But we should be ready with that kind of information.
Right.
I don't wanna throw it in people's faces, but we wanna be able to show, this is what we've got over the last 10 years. Of this, you know, our electricity, everything
Yep.
has gone up, our insurance has gone up this much, our salaries have gone up this much, and we've really not done anything for the student.
It would be nice if we get in a position for every negative comment to say, boy, I really appreciate that input, however, it's incorrect. Let me
Right.
tell you what to do.
right, and it's usually true.
That's where we need to be, I think, at this
okay,
point.
that's a good point.
Yeah, so, and we don't need it on the slide,
No.
but if we could have some kind of historical data for the special ed, maybe year by year healthcare increases.
It'd be kind of cool to be able to show all our contractual increases,
Yeah.
social security increases,
If we
because
could
it's
do
social
that.
security, I think.
And that might be a page by itself if we wanted to, you know, if we needed to hand it out. But
Oh,
with
yeah.
all those other increases, you know,
If you could put all that in graph form, it may show that everything else went up, and our increases for the budget of the school stay
Yeah.
flat.
yeah.
Board
Our
of
overhead,
Finance is
our
in the
overhead costs have
library,
really
right?
gone up, huh?
Board of Finance is in the library, right? Well, we have it in the auditorium.
Yeah, but not the presentation.
Huh?
Yes, but not the presentation.
Yes, it is.
The presentation is
Auditorium.
auditorium. I'm telling her, the regular meetings are library.
Oh,
Right.
yes, the March 1st is in the auditorium, everything else is
Everything
library.
else is
So that's
library.
fine, right?
Usually, except Holy Thursday. We have one
Did
day
you
off.
tell Tom?
You know, at this point, we all need to just set reminders to text Tom the day of a
We're
meeting.
always at the library.
That ain't happening.
But if we can, if there's some way to chart that graph.
I'm sure he
down,
doesn't even know
all
he
our-
missed last
all
Wednesday.
our overhead that's gone
And
up
he's gonna come in with
over
all
the
kinds of
last,
questions.
10 years, where our.
It's a graphic
and
sense, I don't know
you
if
can
it
see
makes
our day-to-day operating has gone down. I don't know, it would be nice to be able to show that somehow.
I mean, I'd love to show, and I'm not suggesting this, but I'd love to, yeah, maybe I can help with this, is the average increase in our student costs, our cost per student compared against the state average, and compared against the DERG, that'd be a good analysis to show. Cause I don't think we went up as much as, the average of the DERG is going up.
But we got 2 days to do this, so.
Well,
Yeah,
no.
I'm not suggesting we do
We'll
that.
get it all done.
That'll take a lot of research.
Yeah, can't get that done.
All right. Anything else?
I don't have 10 years worth of budgets, so I can't give you this, if I had 10 years worth of budgets, I could do that graph. But I don't have 10 years worth.
We could find it for you.
Can you find them for me?
I'm sure we can copy
No,
this.
I think
Yeah.
we can bring that up if it comes in.
But for our presentation, we may not need that, but when they start debating our budget down
Yeah.
at the Board of Finance,
Right.
then we can hand some of this stuff out and say,
Mhm.
you know, this is what we're asking for, this is where we've been, this is where we're going.
Mhm.
So
I think.
if we look at it that way, we've got a couple of weeks to
Right,
get things
I think
going.
as a rebuttal to the Board of Finance, that's good, cause Allison from the library did an analysis, something like that, about 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
when they were trying to cut her budget, and it worked.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think maybe that would be the place to present that.
So let's work on that over the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Plus, a lot of those positions change, right? Maybe people that come on new don't know those 10 years of what's had
That's
transpired?
actually correct, yes.
You're right, you're right. But it's
Aaron.
nice to, it's hard to remember what happened 7, 8 years ago,
Mhm.
when we got
Mhm.
no money at all.
Yeah.
Aaron, Sue, and Larry are really the only ones. The other three are all new.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Suzanne's only been there 4 years, so, in the whole scheme of things, that's not a long time.
No, yeah, but she's more familiar
Yeah,
than the new
yeah.
ones.
And she's very familiar with the
Is
school
that
budgets, that's what she's been doing.
point? Yeah, the budgets for the school, is that included in that?
All right, so everybody's good with this? We'll button this up, and it'll be ready for Thursday. You wanna send it out to us one more time for one more look?
Yes, I think
Okay.
that'd be
All right.
acceptable.
So we'll get this again, we'll look it over, any changes anybody wants to make, questions, we'll take care of it before Thursday, right?
There's nothing in this budget, in the, Weinberg budget that's gonna change, right? Is that set to go?
It should be
The
all right.
only thing that might change is bills, because he pulled out the stuff that was in the safety and security
The
plan.
money didn't go down for the legal and the money put into cave either.
Yeah, and the heat and the oil, but I don't think the bottom line should change. My opinion, I said last week, is that
Yeah.
we've got like a $42,000 savings in the oil now, given when Bill recalculated. But I'm concerned
He
with the
hasn't
special.
locked in the fuel price yet, though.
Right, but I'm also concerned with, I wanna look at that health insurance number too, but I'm concerned with special ed is decreasing by 15% overall. That's a concern to me. So any monies that we clean up and save with those lines, I would prefer to move back into special ed.
So in other words, leave the number where it is.
The bottom line where it is,
Yeah.
we can
And we can-
reallocate.
We can
some of the-
reallocate, so we can go in with this budget, I mean, we don't have a choice, we can go in with this budget.
Yeah,
But keep in mind that we'll be reallocating probably some dollars.
More along the lines of special ed, just to make sure.
Right,
I
right.
agree.
okay.
Was there anything ever done with Orla and the cafeteria, money? What was all that, how did, cause he was supposed to come back, I thought, to us, no?
So can I give you a follow-up on that? So what I know
Mm-hmm.
is that, we had a conference call on one of the snow days with the auditors. They were trying to finalize the town audit. And so I was on that conference call. And Orla had us at a negative 75,000 in the cafe account. And Neil did not agree with that number. And so, was kind of holding up the audit as a result of that because he was not comfortable with that 75,000 negative. So what Orla did was went back to, I don't know, she went back at least 6 years and went through all of the grants that came in from the state and feds and matched them up with where they were applied on the town side. And she found 2 discrepancies. They were some type of a health initiative fund, one in 2013 and I think the other in 2014. And it was charged or credited to the town side where the grant actually was the Board of Ed. So she applied that, it was about $12,000 total. And so she reduced the negative number from 75,000 to 63,000. I still to this date do not have any understanding of how that happened. And I do know that at the end of 2013, we had a positive balance, a positive variance of $56,000, and then in 2014, we started the negative slide. And so that is clearly what I know. But actually how it happened, I don't know. The auditor said to me, well, clearly, Melinda, expenses exceeded revenue, right, of the money coming in. But it just seemed like such a, I don't know where that discrepancy is. So.
What's the operating budget for the cafeteria?
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you. It's probably in here though.
No, it's not.
Still gotta be
It's
more
not.
to it than that,
No, I
because a 1-year swing like that
That's a
didn't
lot.
continue?
A $60,000 1-year swing.
Well,
That
they also
doesn't make
said they
sense because
carried
of
over
conti-
all the inventory the same number
But
from
it-
year to
Right,
year.
I'm
But
just
it
saying.
did, but it did continue for 4 years.
No, it didn't.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it
did.
did.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
So it was actually
So-
$250,000?
No, it wasn't
No.
that
It
much.
carried, but that big number didn't happen again the next year and happen again the next year
When
and
it
happen
came
again the
to-
next year.
When it came to our attention, it was like 150. It was a
I
huge
got-
number.
I've got it in my email. I
It was a
can tell
huge
you
number.
that. It was a huge.
So my concern was, after they close the books and the auditors look at it, shouldn't those lines have been closed out
Yeah.
one way or the other, you know?
Right.
You-
That's
And,
the
and
question.
somebody would have had to pay for it, out of our budget, out of their budget, whatever, it should have been closed.
Right.
But
Well, it's
it
a-
all happened in about 2014, the same time Neil started, same time Walter started.
Right.
So that's a coincidence. Then we have this downward slide, which was never brought to our attention, and that's
Yep.
another issue. Now, this past year, it looks like it's 63,000, and it will be our responsibility to close that out. Now, having said that, over the last couple of months, everything's positive,
Mhm.
all right? So it's not like it's continuing to go down. It's positive now, but nobody knows how it got so bad, because that, from 56,000
Right.
to a big negative number, is a huge swing in 1 year.
It's also about the time we changed supervisors. So it could be something
In accounting and just how
as
it's
simple
accounted.
as
I think it may be.
inventory
accounting.
valuation or something along
Right.
those lines.
Oh, it could be. Part of it could be, definitely be that.
Could it be
They're
an
actually
impropriety,
taking an
and could someone have
inventory
done?
now
But the
versus
problem-
they didn't
I mean-
before.
Or they
It would
value
be
the inventory
so-
higher
I mean,
before than they do
nothing
now or
is
something
Yeah,
along
I
those
don't
impossible.
know
lines.
how you sign things off year
Part
to
of it
year
could
Right.
when
be
you see a
that.
discrepancy. I don't know how you
The fact that
repeatedly
you
do
had
that, one year to the next,
expenses
that's
with
what.
payroll
Right.
being higher, that could be the case, because we're down one person.
That was the case,
Yeah.
and they
But
they
my
reduced it
this
by
was
one
a
person, and
So now we're
56
seeing
and
positive
that
numbers.
helped.
negative,
So,
like 60.
Okay,
I think there was a
But
lot
that's
of
110
people
in
in
1 year.
charge.
so I
If
have
that
it
had
here,
happened 3 years in a row,
that
it would
in
have been
FY
way higher,
fourteen,
so
the,
I think they just
on the
started
spreadsheet that I
That's not-
received from the
that's not a
finance
small
director, in
change.
FY
No, but-
fourteen, the balance was carried on our side on negative 52,000. Then in FY 15, there was a negative 71,000.
This is cumulative?
No, it's not rolling, it's per year, cumulative per year. And then in FY 16, it was a negative 17,000, and then, I can send this to you all, and then in FY 17, it was a negative 22,000. So, what Orla was carrying down on the town was a negative 75,000.
See,
And then she applied those 2
In
grants.
13 we had.
and in 13 we had 56,000.
And in 13, doesn't go back to 13, yes, it was a positive of 56.
And the auditors can't pinpoint where the
I
problem is?
think we need a forensic audit to do that, of that
Right.
account. And, you know, it might not be a bad idea to do that.
But that's a very, very expensive
Yes.
I
proposition.
understand that,
And
so.
I don't suspect any wrongdoing, but we
Oh, I
really
don't
need to
either.
know, we really need to know what happened.
I mean, that's $108,000
We
in
have
1
a
year.
professional down at the town and a professional here, that they should be able to tell us what happened.
That,
I will say, Orla spent a lot of time combing through all the documents and actually did find only two errors on the town side.
Yeah, the key, the big, while getting the numbers correct is important, what's more important is the processes and procedures we're using that allow this to happen.
And not happen again.
Well, I think that's been
So
taken
I'm-
care of,
So I'm all over that.
and there's a reporting process now,
Mhm.
a monthly reporting process, where
Used to be.
if something goes wrong in a month, we know, and we're not waiting for a year.
Mhm.
But something big happened,
Yeah.
something huge happened. You know, you don't have
I don't know if.
a $600,000
I think,
material
you
cost
know,
and lose
that-
$52,000 in 1 year like that.
Over
Something-
the years, we've bought equipment.
I
We
was just
bought
gonna
it
say,
down
for the
in the
elementary.
elementary school, we bought some stuff for the high school, I remember doing it,
Right,
and it came out of that account.
right.
Now, was it recorded correctly, I don't know,
Maybe not.
I don't know.
But that could be the issue, that prior to 14, we weren't recording it properly. That could have been the issue.
Perhaps, I don't know. But that used to be a positive account, they used to pay for half of their benefits.
Used to generate its own income.
And then we took it and put it all on our side, but
Did Orla and Neil come on the same year to work, and then?
it was right around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the person that does all the input changed as well about that time.
So, we're on top of that, but no good answers right now. All right. So, I need a motion to send this number to the Board of Finance. So, Kathleen, you wanna make a motion?
I will make a motion that we send the
What's the bottom line?
bottom line, I'm looking for that right now. The Board of Ed budget for $18,721,858.03.
Sean, throw in the 3 cents, just so we can even it off.
Dig in your pocket, bud.
I probably have it, but
I'll second it.
some room.
And we have a second by Linda. Excuse me. Any other discussion on this? Okay, so all in favor of sending this to the Board of Finance on Thursday, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Okay. Citizens' comments?
State your name, please.
And age.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn? Wait.
Do you have a comment? No.
I thought I
That was a comment.
Was action items just put there? There's nothing that you wanted, oh, okay, I didn't know if there was something.
Budget.
Voting.
Oh,
to
voting
send
on the budget, yeah. That's an action.
The issue we spoke of.
I think Melinda's gonna give us an update. Joe and I talked about a subcommittee to review security concerns, which is a great idea. Melinda's gonna give us an update on what has been done so far. Let's form a subcommittee just to review that and keep up on it. I think it's important, huh?
Is that the committee that was on Wednesday?
No.
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 Speaking of subcommittees.
Okay, all right.
The
I would
issue,
love to
Gotta do
blame
that this
Danielle, but
week.
this is actually my job. I gotta get the list of subcommittees to everyone so we can go through it. But we're gonna do like a, I don't know what we'll call it, security or something.
Oh, security, security.
Just to make sure we're up on everything. And it's nothing that we're gonna talk about. It'll probably be in executive session
Yeah.
all the time because it's not something we want to discuss in public.
Right.
But at least so the board knows that we're doing everything we can, and we are, but so the board knows what we're doing.
And then I know Mr. Brissette wants to put on the next agenda for the 12th to have an open discussion around just the underlying, social emotional issues that can contribute to, students not feeling safe and in school, and around that whole idea of bullying and supporting each other, and what can we do as a school department to address that.
Do we work at all with United Services? Do we work at all with United Services?
We do.
we work with T, we work with the Juvenile Review Board.
Again, this goes back to a bigger discussion about supporting the schools with the appropriate personnel and social workers and that kind of thing. That would mitigate a lot of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about, I'm not gonna talk about it now, but that's where this should be focused.
I mean, more important with the committee is external things that we should probably consider. Because if there's extra resources that we need financially, it's up to the Board of Ed to go ask for those things from the town. We've done some pretty interesting things over the years in cutting our constables, our resident trooper, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. But that's, could have ramifications moving forward, so.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.